Hello, everybody. Welcome to my mental health check-in. This is my first time doing a live, so I'm a little nervous, but welcome. So today's topic for our mental health check-in is about it's called mental health and bloodline breakers. The Holy Spirit gave me this topic as I was praying about what I should go live and what my content should be about, and He gave me that topic. So, with that, I first want to introduce myself. My name is Patricia Jala. I am a mental health and life coach for Destiny LLC, and I have been in the field for a long time, since 2016. I got my master's in addiction counseling and my bachelor's in psychology. So I have a lot of experience in the mental health field and the addiction field that I just want to share with you all. But also, I'm a Christian, so it will be from a Christian perspective doing this live. All right. So, as I told you before, the topic is about mental health and bloodline breakers. And the first thing that God had wanted me to speak about is predisposed symptoms. So, what predisposed symptoms means, more than likely, if you struggle with some kind of mental health, whether it be anxiety or depression or anything, there's always most likely someone in your family who have dealt with that too. And so sometimes with mental health, it passed down from generations to generations. And you probably wouldn't even know that, some family members struggle with it because they suffer silently. To give you an example, I have noticed for some time I had, struggled with some symptoms of anxiety and a little bit kind of like of burden, which is depression, but I don't have depression, but I suffered a burden for a little bit. And so recently I learned that I had someone in my family who had anxiety. And so I didn't know at the time I was going through that they had anxiety, but they shared it with me and I later on discovered. So that's why God wanted me to highlight, like, is predisposed. Some of them is predisposed. It can be in your generation and you probably wouldn't even know unless you found out from someone. So when you are predisposed, you have your children or whoever have a strong likelihood of having those symptoms that you have carried. It can be also, sometimes you can develop these symptoms, not even predisposed, but sometimes during the environment, how you were raised, if you went through any trauma, your upbringing can also contribute to symptoms of mental health. And so when I want to go into, kind of how for certain cultures, therapy is not really popular. And, this day and age, we're now getting into therapy. But back in the day, during my grandma's or my mom's days, they didn't really take therapy that seriously. They kind of thought of it like, you're crazy or these people got mental problems, when in reality, it's just some therapy is something people take with or without mental health struggles. And sometimes people were having mental health struggles, didn't even know what they was dealing with because they wasn't educated about what mental health really was, especially for our culture. And so he wanted me to highlight how therapy was viewed and how people, especially even black men or men of color, thought of therapy as far as like with pride or how people view them or, different things. So, and sometimes maybe like, I don't need therapy, I don't need that stuff. But yeah, so he wanted me to highlight on how therapy was used or seen back in the day and how it impacted, the struggles of people now who suffer silently. And so a little backstory, I was in a session one day and we was just talking about how, this person dealt with certain things. And I was explaining to them because the parenting may have been for them how they only knew how to parent because of how their parents parented them. So being that the parent didn't have resolved trauma, they passed their trauma on to the son or the child by doing certain things because they weren't healed. So it goes back to tell you how therapy is important. And because of the neglect of it or wise counsel, I would say wise counsel is therapy, but because of the neglect of it, they will pass it on to their children, not knowing how it's impacting them. So when I said environment, that plays a trigger to predispose symptoms. So I noticed that a lot of my clientele, they are the first in their family to seek therapy. They're the first in their family to make the change as far as what they were raised on and the knowledge they have now and what they're implementing to be free. And so I call them like the bloodline breakers, because it's not easy to step out of your comfort zone to say, hey, I need someone to talk to. I need someone to express these feelings and emotions that I don't know what they are, because I was never educated about it. My parents were never educated about it. So now they're setting the tone for their generations to, seek the help that they need to overcome certain struggles and certain trials. Um, and so when they start doing that, it breaks the chain for things going forward for generations. And not to include, and not to forget God being at the center, because with therapy by itself, it won't work. With certain medications by itself, it won't work. But with therapy and with God and with whatever else you need, it will work. So I just wanted to explain and do a little check-in with you all, and just really explaining how impactful it is to really talk to somebody and seek wise counsel, because we all go through things and we just sometimes can't explain or understand why we go through certain things that we go through, or why we feel these emotions that we feel. And it's really an educational component about, this is what it is. This is why it may happen, because my parents didn't resolve what they had been through, because they didn't know, about anything that they were feeling. They didn't know about the trials that they were facing, the emotions they were feeling during the trials that they facing. They didn't know about depression. They really didn't know about anxiety. They just knew how to move forward. And so now, with you being a bloodline breaker, you're learning how to process that, how to deal with it, because the enemy attacks your mind first. And especially for men, this is why a lot of men don't really seek therapy, because of pride, for one. But the enemy knows that if I can attack the men's mind and get their mind into this state, they are the head. So now I got the head of the family. And so that's why it's so important for men to get therapy, especially if you're married or you're the head of the family. It's important to talk to someone about the things that you're battling in the mind, so that you can have a free mind and a sound mind to be able to take care of your family. So this is to all the people who are taking a step forward for the first time to get therapy or to talk to someone. You are the bloodline breaker. You set the tone for the generations to come. And also, do not forget about including God. Be blessed. Join our next session, mental health check-in, next time. I think it'll be on Fridays around 1 now. Be blessed. Have a blessed day. Bye.